we're going to hear a lot of noise about the word GDP or gross domestic product. So, how is this gross domestic product put together? How do you add crops, cattle, commodities, consumer goods, communication, coaching classes, all this into one number and say this is the value that the country has created? This is done by experts from the National Statistical Organization. Its old name was Central Statistical Organization, so I will use that name since it's more familiar. The CSO guys collect it, and they collect it with the help of people from right down, from the State Department, Zilla Parishads, Village Panchayat, even the post offices pitch in and give them the data which the CSO puts together. The CSO counts the GDP under several segments as follows. Agriculture includes livestock, dairy, fishery, etc. And mining and quarrying, that's self-explanatory. Manufacturing, that's obvious. And then you have electricity, gas, etc. They are utilities basically. Then you have the services sector. Services are very big in India, more than 60% of the GDP. Trade, hotels, transport is one category. Then the finance related ones are another category. That's banking, insurance, real estate. And then you have public administration, which are services provided by the government, like defense, municipal schools, education, public health. That's public administration. Now, let's see how each of these are put together. First, agri. Agri is the easiest one to count because it's well oiled. From British times, the state agriculture departments have been sending data to the center. They get it from the Zilla Parishads and from the villages. So they give even the fishery data, the livestock data. This is beautifully done. It's done monthly and quarterly. So you get annual and quarterly data. Only for forestry, you get only annual data. That's obvious from the product itself. That's agriculture, no complication. The problem starts with manufacturing, because in manufacturing, you have to understand the difference between GDP and GVA, gross value added. So we have to count how much value is added by each unit. How does the CSO do? On a macro level, GDP is arrived at by taking the GVA first, which the CSO collects, and then it adds taxes and subtracts subsidies. Then you get the GDP. That is the difference between GDP and GVA. So what is the CSO collecting? It is collecting GVA for each unit. Let's start with the manufacturing unit. How does it collect the GVA for a manufacturing unit? It looks at the total revenues of a unit, and from that it subtracts the cost of all the material it uses. The cost of inputs includes raw materials. It also includes fuel, transport, power, everything else that the unit consumes. So from that minus this, whatever you get is the value added by that manufacturing unit. Okay, where is that value added going? That value added is going to either the employees as salaries, or it goes to the owner in the form of rent, in the form of profits. Together, that is the value added by the unit. Now, let's come to a services unit, because services, okay, that's the operating surplus. Let's go to the services unit, which is trade, basically trade, hotels and transport. This is a very big category. How do you count how much value is added by a trading unit? The Central Statistical Organization takes the total sales of a trading company and subtracts the cost of the materials it purchases. That will be its value added. Now, for the annual number, they get the data from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. But for a quarterly calculation, they don't get all the trading data. So what the CSO does it goes to a previous full year, fully revised number, which is usually 2 years ago. Like for FY20, you will go to the FY18 trade category. Now for this level of revenues, this is the value added by the units. It comes to that formula. It creates that index, which is called the gross trading index. And it applies this index to get the quarterly data. So for a quarter, you can't get the trading income of every banya. You have to take the revenues from the GST or from some one of the macro indicators and apply this index to get the value added. Okay, now let's go to banking. For banking, how do you count the value added? The CSO, the value added by a bank is its fee income, the money it charges for every draft and things like that. Then income from the service it provides to depositors and income from the service it provides to the borrowers. What is that income? It is the net interest margin. So net interest margin into loans, net interest margin into deposits is the way in which you count the value added by the bank. From that, you subtract whatever power and transport and other things that the bank would have consumed. Now, on a monthly basis, what do? You can't get all the data, margins, etc. for a monthly basis. So, they only take the loans and deposits and then apply the index again. You know, from 2 years ago, what was the index of value added by the financial sector? That is applied to the current data on deposits and loans. Okay, now let's go to insurance. For insurance, what is the value added? You take the total premiums that are collected, various kinds of premiums, and then subtract the claims which the insurance company has paid out. And then of course you also subtract other things that the insurance company would have spent on transport, on power, etc. The difference is the value added by the insurance company. That's for the financial sector. Now we come to public administration. For that, we have to understand how a non-market company value add is calculated. For a market, you know, it's easy to find out what is the revenues. Now, what is the revenues generated by defense? What is the revenue generated by a municipal school? It's a little different. So, how do you calculate? You add all the money that you have paid to the soldiers or to the municipal school teachers, full employee compensation plus whatever they consume by way of blackboards, chalks, paper. You add that and whatever they consume by way of fixed capital, rent, power, etc. The total is the value added by public administration units like defense, education and health. Now, that's how the GDP is put together for the various segments. What are the sources of the data? The source for public administration is very easy, the government units. Because they're all government owned, you get it from the various ministries. For private sector, the source of data is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. That collects about some 5 lakh companies' data. But for smaller companies, unincorporated, unregistered companies, there is an annual survey of industries done by the CSO. That gives you the data for the unincorporated companies. Then come the unorganized sector. The unorganized would be, you know, cobblers, tailors, small shops. For that, you don't get annual data now. The NSSO, which is a unit of the Central Statistical Organization, it conducts 5-year surveys every 5, because it takes a long time to do that survey. So, it's once in 5 years, but it is going to become annual. So, you will get better data. That is the source for the unorganized sector. Why are GDP numbers revised? Every time you get a first GDP number and then 1 year later it's revised, because when the quarterly data comes, it is only extrapolated from indexes. The entire data is available only at the end of the year, crops, forest data. So that's why at the end of the year the number gets revised. But much more important, for the unorganized sector, you have to wait for the NSSO surveys to give you the data. Now, informal sector first cut, when the CSO presents the data, it says, okay, the organized sector of trade or hotels grew so much, so the unorganized Udupi hotels would also have grown by the same amount. But 2-3 years later, when the survey data becomes available, then you have to adjust it. Now, in exceptional years, like say demonetization, you cannot say that the informal sector grew as much as the formal sector, because the informal sector is hurt more in times of demonetization or COVID. So, while the initial quarterly data gives the same value add for formal and informal sector, 2 years later the data has to be revised because you get the actual numbers. That is why there are GDP data revisions. The final term we have to understand is base year. Why do you need a base year? Every 10 years the base year changes. First we had 94-95 as the base year, then we had 2004-2005, then we had 2012-13 as the base year. The base year changes because patterns of consumption change. What we consume changes. Let us take only one thing, entertainment. 20 years ago there was no mobile bill. Movies were very cheap. You could see a movie at 25 rupees. They were mostly non-air conditioned theatres. That was all that you needed for entertainment. But 10 years ago you had a reasonably fat mobile bill, although we only used feature phones, and movies had become slightly more expensive. You had a new item called cable bill. And today, if you were to calculate the same thing, you will have a much bigger mobile bill because we are all working from home. So we are paying more mobile bill, and you have no movie bill for this year, and you may have an additional bill for, say, the Netflix or the Alt Balaji or the Voot or whatever you're going to consume. So because the consumption basket changes, the base year has to be changed and upgraded. You may think that, oh, then the GDP doesn't look very comparable. But the GDP is the only way in which a country can understand whether it has economically grown or not. So even though it is an imperfect number or just an indicative number, it is a very important number for us to understand whether the country is economically progressing.